Sometimes we create our own heartbreaks through expectation. On that cold night, when the city's streets were almost empty of passersby, Ivan sat alone in a dark room, illuminated by the weak glow of an old lamp. He was holding an old letter, worn at the edges by time, while his gaze drifted into emptiness. It felt as though the very silence of the night was choking him, as if everything around him bore witness to his one and only mistake, that he had expected too much from those unable to give him anything at all. Ivan exhaled bitterly and said in a wary voice, "Oh, how foolish my dreams were! How could threads thinner than dust appear to my eyes like sturdy ropes, only to collapse the moment I grasped them?" The letter he held dated back several months, from a woman he had loved intensely, named Anna. She wrote it back when she too dreamed of a brighter world and shining promises. In those words, he believed he had found the secrets of salvation, convinced that the promises written in her own hand would guide him toward happiness. Yet those dreams stumbled on the truths of reality, disappearing as though they were smoke in the air. He closed his eyes, trying to recapture those emotions. He remembered his frequent visits to Anna's home, when her smile filled his heart with a false sense of reassurance. He recalled their long conversations, in which he told her of his dreams to marry and start a family, and of his deep desire at last to feel he belonged to someone. She would only respond with a silent smile that hid emotions he couldn't fully understand, but which he himself clothed in the titles of hope and expectation. Suddenly, his quiet was interrupted by a hesitant knock at the door. His heart pounded before his feet moved toward it, as if he were expecting a miracle. He opened the door slowly to find his old friend Dmitri standing there, drenched by the rain. Dmitri spoke in a voice tinged with obvious pity. "I heard what happened between you and Anna. My conscience tormented me, so I wondered if there was any way I could help you." Ivan turned his head, avoiding his friend's gaze, then answered with a face full of grief. "And what help could you possibly offer, Dmitri? Can you bring back a dream that the harshness of reality has killed, or restore a certainty stolen by a delusion?" Dmitri stepped closer, deep worry etched across his forehead. "Weren't you excessive in your expectations? Nothing hurts more than building a grand structure in your imagination, only to discover that its foundations are fragile." Ivan averted his eyes from his friend, recalling how Anna's confused looks had tried to tell him she couldn't keep up with his dreams, nor fulfill promises beyond her ability. Yet he insisted that reality would change by the power of love alone. And now, in this cramped room, he felt that he himself had built a clouded wall around his heart. When sunlight no longer shone through, those clouds transformed into a suffocating darkness. Dmitri drew nearer and lowered his voice. "We all need hope, but sometimes we create it out of nothing. We assume others want us and can handle our desires the way we do. And that's where tragedy begins." Ivan felt as though those words were piercing his silence. restoring his awareness of what his own hands had created. He had burdened Anna with more than she could bear, expecting her to be his entire world. Little by little, she drew away, leaving an aching emptiness in his chest. Ivan's anger transformed into a heart-wrenching bitterness. It's strange, Dmitri, how our human nature can twist our dreams from light to darkness, and how we refuse to see the truth until everything is lost. Right then, Dmitri, seeking to offer some solace, stepped toward a small table where a burned-down candle and a notebook were placed. He picked it up and opened it, finding a line Ivan had written days earlier. Sometimes we create our own heartbreaks through expectation. Looking at Ivan with a sad admiration, Dmitri's voice faltered. You discovered the truth before it consumed you. So why did you ignore the signals your own heart gave you? Ivan pressed his eyes shut in an attempt to flee from his reality, but this time he felt he had to confront himself. In a sorrowful voice, he replied, I preferred to deceive myself with dreams rather than face the emptiness of my soul. At that moment, the unexpected happened. The door flew open suddenly, and Anna herself walked in, her face pale, eyes brimming with shy tears. Time stood still for Ivan. A heavy silence hung in the air, as though the world held its breath. In a trembling voice, Anna said, I came to apologize. I couldn't bear all those hopes. It isn't just your fault. I should have confessed my limitations much earlier. Ivan couldn't speak. His lost love and deep pain clashed within him. In a single fleeting moment, he realized that his overwhelming hopes hadn't really been wrong. But he had forgotten that people have limits. They can't be expected to transcend for someone else. In that critical moment, Ivan moved closer to Anna and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Speaking in a voice akin to confession, he said, Forgive me, Anna. I placed too great a burden on you. My fantasies built a prison for both of us, and I bear responsibility for that. She looked at him with trembling eyes. They exchanged a charged glance filled with regret and longing. That was when Ivan knew that his love for her, though it had faded in reality, would leave an unforgettable lesson in his heart. He turned to Dmitri with a resigned look, while Dmitri's lips curved in a slight smile of understanding. But the greatest surprise was when Anna pulled an envelope out of her bag and handed it to Ivan, saying, This is all that's left of our dreams. Keep it or tear it up. It's your choice. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry we built walls of illusion too strong to tear down in time. Ivan opened the envelope fearfully, finding all the letters they had once exchanged, along with sketches that symbolized the life they had dreamed of. He felt as though his life had been reset to square one, standing before a final chance to begin anew. He realized the breaking point hadn't come from losing a dream, so much as it had come from harboring exaggerated hopes, from expecting the impossible in his own reckless heart. And here, uncertainty turned into a philosophical certainty. Sometimes we dig graves for our own souls when we expect from others what they're unable to give. We fall in love with an image we create in our imaginations, only for everything to crumble when we collide with the harshness of reality. Yet, tragedy carries a hidden wisdom, learning to love realistically, to accept imperfections, and to avoid turning our expectations into prisons, both for the other person and for ourselves. With silent tears, Ivan returned the letters to the envelope. Deep inside, he felt a strength forming out of pain and a new understanding. Then he looked at Dmitri and Anna, his eyes brimming with heavy emotion. "No, I understand that our greatest suffering grew from the seeds of our own expectations, Dots." And so Anna departed quietly, and Ivan watched her until the darkness swallowed her figure beyond the door. In the depths of his heart arose a strange feeling of reconciliation with himself. He now knew the true ailment and could finally grasp its cure. To learn how to embrace the world as it is, without the kind of exaggerated, painful dreams that turn one's soul into a field of disappointments. Philosophical conclusion. We often light the fuse of our sorrows ourselves by pinning our hearts on hopes that exceed human capacity. Dreaming isn't the problem. The disaster begins when we turn our expectations into chains that bind both our own souls and those of others. Once we recognize this truth, we free ourselves from the prison of illusion and open our hearts to the vastness of acceptance and deeper understanding of human relationships.